So in the comment section to one of my videos as of late, I got this comment, quote, Nathaniel Rothschild warns British government the New World Order is dead if Putin wins in Ukraine, unquote. Which was, I'm guessing, supposed to prove that what I call the New World Order is not what it really is, and it's still pushing this idea that the New World Order is this organized group of individuals. It's this shadow government who wants to organize society in the rank and file in a specific way, enslave us, and all this other fucking nonsense, right? But that actually proves my point because Nathaniel Rothschild never actually said that, at least according to this lady. He said our global order is dead, right? And he's talking about Western U.S. hegemony, right? He never said New World Order. It's these shill websites and people who just don't understand what's being said. They interpreted it as New World Order when, according to this anyway, right? That has direct quotes from the letter that he sent, right? He never said New World Order because that wouldn't make any sense because the New World Order that is to pass is the end of US hegemony with China and perhaps Russia having an increased role in this new world order. I mean, what part of new, right? How can something that's old be new, right? What part of new or world order don't you understand? But anyway, I explained this perfectly. At least I thought I did. But people just stick to this. They've been brainwashed for so long by these shills such as Alex Jones, as I stated in another video or a few other videos, to associate New World Order with shadow government, when New World Order is just a concept of who's in power in the world, right? It's the moves that these people make on this geopolitical grand chessboard, right? Whoever's in control, and whether it's one hegemon like U.S. or two hegemons like U.S. and USSR, or maybe more, which seems to be the reshuffling that is happening right now, right? So something that Bush was talking about in '91 as the New World Order is 30 years old and is failing, and something else is happening, right? So you're just proving my point. Rothschild never used these words. It's these shills or people who are brainwashed who don't understand basic concepts like new, world, or order. It's all there. Like it's not rocket science. It's all there. Um, you, you just have a difficult time dealing with the fact that you fell for, and I already said that I did in the past. You fell for a fucking basic bitch level psyop. But then there's also this idea that the United States needs to, be more isolationist. They need to change their foreign policy basically and concentrate on um, its own affairs, withdraw, its troops from all over the world. I guess close down all their military bases all over the world and all this other stuff. And that sounds great, I guess, unless you actually take the time and think about what that would actually mean, especially for you. Um, and maybe you'd want that anyway. I don't know. But I find the, the reason why I call people on the right, the political right, woke, right, is because they're not as dumb, sorry, as the lefties. But I mean, you're not that far off from the lefties, right? All your information comes from mainstream media, right? It's just the other side of the mainstream media. You're just as brainwashed as they are. It's just a different side of this political aisle that's brainwashing you. And I do admit that that side is more reasonable and tells more truth. Generally speaking, I do agree with that. But all your information still comes from mainstream media. So to come to this channel and say, you believe what mainstream media says, where the fuck do you get your information from, dummy? You know what I mean? Uh, so you guys are just full of contradictions, right? When Biden withdrew from Afghanistan, that was seen as weakness, right, by the political right for the most part, and he got criticized, right? And now that, and let me remind you that Afghanistan is Russia's backyard, basically, a piece of land, whether it was the Russian Empire, USSR, or the Russian Federation now, to various degrees have been fighting for control over that territory because Russia is an empire, just as the United States or the collective West, whatever the hell you want to call it, is another empire. And that's what empires do, right? They clash and fight for territory. That's all that this is about. This has nothing to do. This is just millions of contradictions when it comes to you guys, right? When you know Biden withdrew from Afghanistan, he botched it. It showed U.S.'s weakness, yada yada yada. But now that he's supporting Ukraine, right? That's not okay either. It's like, make up your fucking mind, right? Now that he took a strong position, right? That's wrong too. It's not because of any principles, right? It's not because you guys have any standards. You just support the red team, and that's it. And that's why you're clowns just like the lefties, a bunch of fucking clowns. It just is what it is, right? Uh, how about some more contradictions, right? I mean, I've been yammering on and on and on and on about all these contradictions you people on the right have, right? Like, uh, gender is determined biologically, right? But Jewish people say they're non-white, they're a different race than white people, so it must be true, right? You say that oh, what was I gonna say here? I forgot. Anyway, this idea that United States, must be isolationist or withdraw or not support their status in the world as a hegemon, however powerful, whether it's just regional, uh, hemispheric, if you will, or global hegemon. This idea, I mean, do you have any clue what that would mean for you, right? And going on with that theme, that same train of thought, it was, you know, the people on the right, the people that are pro Russia, right? You just chose an empire, right? You don't have any values. You just play for that team, right? The people that essentially, that's all you did. You just chose Russia. That's it. Um, Against your own interest. This is just ridiculous and so nihilistic and self-destructive. But anyway, this idea that well, first of all, that Russia went into Ukraine to protect Russian people. Russia has sent more Russian people to their deaths than that little rinky-dinky Ukrainian army could ever kill in Donbass region, like 20-fold probably. And they keep sending them to their death. So clearly Russia doesn't give a fuck about Russians. Obviously, like, can we at least have some recognition of that, right? Those of you who are still yammering, waving the Z, the Russian flag, can we at least have some reconciliation here? Can you guys at least come around and say, "Oh yeah, that was fucking dumb to believe that," right? No, there's no recognition of that at all. Russia is defending the poor people of Donbass. But why the fuck did those people stage a revolution? If somebody stages a revolution in the United States, right, and tries to, I don't know, join Mexico, let's say Texas, um, people in Texas rise up, a minority or even a certain group in Texas, they arm themselves to the teeth and they take over Texas government and they say we want to take over we want to join Mexico. You're just gonna be like, yeah, because there's some separatist group in Texas that wants Texas to join with Mexico, then we should let them do it, right? The poor people of Texas, like, right? And let's say those people are financially and militarily supported by Mexico on a hush hush, right? You're just gonna be like, yeah, they get the fuck out of here. You guys are a bunch of clowns. You really are a bunch of clowns. Those of you who believe this dumb shit. Anyway, get mad. I don't give a fuck. I'm sick and tired of your bullshit. You know, do you have any idea what it would mean for U.S. to just give up its foreign policy? Well, first of all, it would make you a hypocrite, right? Because not that long ago you were yammering about the Minsk agreement, something you just learned about in the last year. Well, the Minsk agreement, they violated the Minsk agreement, blah, 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 blah. Something you've never read, something you've never studied, something you don't know dick about. You're just repeating what somebody else said, right? Well, if you think these international agreements are some sort of a standard we should go by, well, U.S. promised Ukraine protection. Uh, oh, was it the Bucharest conference? If they would give up their nuclear weapons, right? They had the second largest stockpile of nuclear weapons in the world, and U.S. asked them to give those up and promised to take care of them or protect them from big bad Russia, right? So I mean, you're just gonna cherry pick these international agreements? You don't have any fucking standards. But yeah, but this idea that U.S. should stop its foreign policy, I mean, hey, on the one hand, that does sound good, right? But that's going to create a void that will be filled by whom? Well, most likely China, right? So would you rather have a liberal world order with all its flaws and problems? Or would you rather have a communist, let's just call it what it is, right? Fascist, communist, doesn't really matter, right? Would you rather have a Chinese global order? Because somebody's going to fill that void, and it's most likely going to be China. So it's kind of problematic to just say, oh, U.S. should just worry about themselves, and it's not like U.S. isn't going to be affected by this, right? Because it's the U.S. military. Sorry to say, right? It's the U.S. foreign policy that has propped up the dollar, right? Or the oil industry, thereby the petrodollar, right? That's the biggest reason why, relatively speaking, you living in the United States, by comparison to people in other countries, that's why you're rich and they're poor. This is the motherfucking truth, right? And if you're willing to give that up and risk being enslaved by the Chinese, then if that's because those would be the consequences of giving up U.S. If U.S. were to just give up all their military bases, right? Then you might see a Russo-Japanese war revived. You would see China definitely take over Taiwan. You definitely see that happening, right? If U.S. just said, "Oh, we're gonna withdraw all our military presence from all over the world," right? All of a sudden, there would be a lot more conflict and mayhem. I'm sorry to say, that's what would happen. You would be broke. You would go poor. The dollar would fucking plummet, right? A lot of people in the United States would go hungry, probably starve, couldn't afford to heat their homes. You couldn't afford to drive those, high displacement, big displacement cars that you like to drive. A lot of you might not be able to afford to drive, period, right? You would lose it would be a horrendous blow to US economy. Now this could happen, over the course of, I don't know, however many decades, where US could slowly potentially withdraw from all over the world while at the same time building up its own infrastructure, economy, manufacturing base, right? Uh, exploiting Alaska and everywhere else for oil, gas, anything that you need to keep your economy going. Yeah, you'd have to mine all that stuff domestically and yada yada. Yeah, but U.S. is definitely big enough to be able to do that, right? But first of all, it's a pipe dream, I think. I mean, it would be great, don't get me wrong, but this would take many, many decades. You'd have to break a ton of international agreements or wait for them to expire. You'd have to go back on your word to all these people. And what about, it's all fine and good to just take everything out of its context and say, well, we shouldn't have done what we've done, right? Expended our military, this and that. Well, okay, maybe so, but you as an American saying this, why don't you renounce all the things that you've gained because of it, right? The petrodollar, relatively cheap gas, cheap energy, cheap Chinese goods, and just wealth. extraordinary wealth. You're not really willing to give that up, but you'd have to. So it's I guess it sounds good to say some dumb shit like that, but I don't think you fully realize what it is that you're actually saying. And what about, right? Because you did in the United States, and I was part of that too, and I still benefit from the dollar definitely. So, you know, I'm a realist, right? What about? Don't you think you owe something to the world, right? Because it is the exploitation of all these people in the second and the third world, Ukraine included, right? That has afforded you the kind of living standard that you have in the United States. And that was done at the point of the gun by the US military, right? And now that that shit is failing because, China is coming up and other places in the world are coming up, you just want to give all of that up, right? Do you though? I don't think you realize what it is that you're saying. I don't think you realize what it is that would have to happen in the United States. And if you truly believe that that's what should happen, well, what are you doing about it, right? Are you working at a factory or some kind of manufacturing base in the United States? Are you opening up one of those things or facilities? Are you maybe looking to open up I don't know, like, are you making motorcycles, cars, tractors? Are you looking to, are you growing your own food? Are you mining? Are you doing any of these things that need to be done in order for that pipe dream to become a reality, right? Or do you just work in the service industry, or do you just collect a check, right? And you're just a consumer. Like, what is it that you're doing? Because to say, well, US should blah 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 blah, well, you are US. What are you doing, right? Probably just talking and not making any sense. Anyway, I once in a while I get this comment that, like, I'm incoherent, right? Because this is all, off the cuff, off the top of the dome. This is, I don't have an outline. I get on here and you could say I ramble. That's fair enough, right? I talk shit, fair enough. But what's incoherent? What doesn't make sense? What is it about that I say that doesn't cohere, right? That's not, you don't provide any argument. You just say things, right? If that were the case, it would be very easy to say that this doesn't make any sense because blah 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 blah, or you contradicted yourself here because blah 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 blah, right? You could say I don't have a very cohesive, neatly ordered, well presented argument, right? Aesthetically or easy to understand, right? But it's, yeah, I'm a shit teacher. I'm a terrible pedagogue. Uh, I'm not the best communicator out there. But you know, that's kind of twofold, right? It's like, well, how fucking smart are you, right? Because if you're this genius and I'm so fucking dumb, then you should be able to poke holes in the things that I say, no matter whether it's presented in a perfectly neat from A to Z, and everything in between order, right? Because if you're smart, you'll be able to follow what's being said. You'll be able to listen to the very end of the video, and you'll be able to order it for you however it is that you need to be able to digest it. The information is there, but if you're so fucking smart, right, then you could put it all together in your own goddamn head and show me where it is that I made errors, where I made mistakes, where I contradicted myself, where it doesn't cohere, right? If you're that smart, I don't have to hold you by your fucking hand and give you a presentation that a 10-year-old can understand. I don't have to do that if you're so fucking smart, right? But the simple fact that I can't get any, I mean, not to say that this never happens, that I don't sometimes make mistakes. Sure, sure, sure. But the simple fact that my harshest critics can't provide a single goddamn motherfucking argument, right? And then they point the finger at me and say, it's your fault. I mean, when I say Dunning-Kruger's, I'm probably correct too. So, I mean, whether you like it or not, U.S. has made a lot of promises, implicit or explicit, legal or extra legal, to the entire world, and this is the course that it has chosen to be on, from which you've benefited tremendously, right? So for now to just put all the brakes on that or reverse course completely, A, you don't understand the ramifications of what that means. B, you don't seem to understand that you have a responsibility to the rest of the world because of how much you've profited from the rest of the world, right? You're gonna rape the entire fucking world with your U.S. military. You reap the benefits of it, right? But soon as shit starts going a little tough, right? Your gas prices have gone up a little bit. Beef is more expensive, and it's getting a little bit more expensive to heat your fucking house in the winter. Now you just want to completely reverse course, right? And throw all these people that you fucked over by means of your U.S. military and the petrodollar, right? At the point of a motherfucking gun. You just want to fuck all those people, right? That you've used for so much of what you have right now. Because a little bit of that has been taken away from you. You just want to throw them to the motherfucking Chinese. Man, go fuck yourself. Thanks for watching.